that lower middle end of playoffs, making a bit of waves. Would love to see them bounce back in this game too. But now with Lee Sin going over, AL have the option to get their hands on their cupper picks.
Like, you stole it away.
Exactly. Ultra Prime took these away in game 1. The Swain now coming out 4-4. Just has been his most comfortable champion so far this split. I'm curious to see where they go for their second pick, though. Because we hit on, right? Typically it would be jungle here. Things like the Viego being what's open, being his go-to pick. We also do still even have things like the the Lucian, which they're highlighting now. And they're just going to go for it.
Yeah, potentially just going to lock in the Lucian Nami combo here, unless Ultra Prime just feel like they need to take the Nami away, which I would highly doubt. But it is going to be a nice combo for anyone's Legend bot lane. We've seen, obviously, they're going for the snowball potential of bot lane. They feel like they can take it to Elk and ShiauC and find advantages to build off of, which we've seen anyone's Legend do to Abandoned here at this point in the season. Now we will see Ultra Prime hovering this Nautilus. They'll lock it in for the second time around.
Yeah, and the Aphelios, I think, is the expected pick to come through. Sad that the Renata is not up, right? Because that would typically be the go-to answer of like Aphelios plus Renata to be able to go into the Lucian Nami combo, but still going to be able to give them some team fight presence later on. Elk, even though didn't have the best time having to deal with Chocho, like did have some moments, right? The Gale Force in finding the ability to get some kills. As stop being indecisive, actually going for the Xayah, I guess opting into the safety in terms of the ultimate, that the ultimate provides you and being able to get out of some of these fights. So you already hit on the Nami. We knew that was coming through. AL have pretty much leaned on Lucian Nami and like Kalista plus X as their two go-to bot lanes to keep up the level of aggression that we saw in game 1.
Yeah.
And just throughout the split so far.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's been working out for them when they do find those bottom lanes. I think it's interesting to see them when they are put on the back foot, when they do have a lot of bans targeted to them. And they had a couple this time around, but they still get one of their tried and trues of the summer split here. And so now it's putting even more of a spotlight on Elk and ShiauC. Like, what are you going to do to come back into this one, right? We saw the Aphelios Nautilus last time. It did not have the greatest of times, at least in the laning phase, but as well in the team fights. So very, very interested what the Xayah brings to the table for Elk, how that changes, I guess, the way he approaches this one. But into the second phase, the Xin ban from Ultra Prime. Again, a lot of focuses from those plays, at least the champions pick game number 1 against anyone's or for anyone's Legend. The Corki, though, nice ban from anyone's Legend. Try to take away some of those power points in the mid lane, as well as the Talia.
Yeah, taking away the signature Cryin champions, you do still, again, have the Viego up is the other thing that Xiaohao typically leans on. You do have, like, obscure picks that Xiaohao has been willing to play. I was going to say the Nocturne being the one that comes straight to mind when you think that AL want to keep going with this aggressive kind of all-in play style as being something that Xiaohao has really liked to play, especially in past seasons. I'm curious to see what he goes for here because I think you definitely would like to leave top lane for counter pick and get ZDZ in a matchup he's happy with.
Got banned last time, not going to be banned this time around. So they opt into the Xin, the Nocturne. Could just be the lock-in for anyone's Legend. They do get the Diana for Xiaohao.
Yeah, typically you like having setup alongside this, whether, it's the Yasuo, the Set, like in the past, even things like Renekton potentially could come out. You do have double AP in mid-jungle, so is potential to be played around. So I think for AL, their top lane pick is going to be pretty important, but nothing really coming to mind. I don't think ZDZ really plays, or even bringing out things like the Set and top, I think could be a little bit awkward depending on the matchup. So for Ultra Prime, they're going to go with some just very reliable blind picks coming through. Cryin going to bring out the Lissandra. Should have an easy time getting in the middle of everyone on the side of AL because they want to come into you. So potentially could find a very impactful ultimate. And then Zoom going to go back to the Gnar.
I love the amount of CC that Ultra Prime have. They can make decisions and follow it up, which I felt like was missing a lot of the time last time in game number 1 for Ultra Prime. But they do get a couple of those blind picks, as you were saying. It is the Jax as a response here, so we will see the flexing coming through, the big brainness for anyone's Legend, as they'll stick the Swain in the mid lane on Forge. And they'll bring ZDZ to bat with this Jax.
Yeah, so at least having some lockdown of their own. Also the ability to play out through sides later on, right? Jack's going to outscale both Lissandra and the Gnar in the side lane. But for AL, it's still going to be all about those 5v5s, getting Swain and Diana in the middle of everyone, hopefully finding your way onto Elk. That's why Elk bringing out the Xayah, right? Wanting to have that safety of that ultimate, trying to be able to get away, build some distance between you. You hit on the amount of CC they have, right? Cryin being able to lock people down, having the Gnar ultimate, and then just allowing Xayah to be able to whittle them down in an extended fight with those autos. But hey, if anyone's Legend can do what they did in game 1, be as decisive, find those engages, I think it is going to be incredibly hard.
I know we just passed over for a brief moment, but I really like that cutout of Elk with the Hanfu. I thought that was really cool. But in all actuality, I think it's going to be a step up needed. Again, I was talking about this bottom lane, but as well as for Cryin, where last game he did have resources to try to pull something out, but was unable to because of some of those miscommunications, because of the big blunders, which the one that immediately comes to mind is the Baron play, where if that doesn't happen, Ultra Prime are in a much different position in game number 1.
Yeah, just what you're saying, Mazel. We need the Ultra Prime faith out there, the Ultra Prime fans, the Ultra Prime believers to rise up, give them your energy, and AL, you know what? They won game 1.
I need this to go to 3 games, so let's see what happens. Ultra Prime on the blue side, game number 2 versus anyone's Legend. Kicking off now. We'll get a little bit of the funsies, a little bit of happiness here on Hanfu Celebration.
What bros?
The bros.
Yeah, exactly. You always love to see it. Just show up,
I
shake hands, walk away.
ShiauC and Betty. That's all I'm saying. We haven't gotten that. There's a little bit of bad blood there, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, I'm just saying, when ShiauC and Betty were on Flash Wolves 2019 summer, I think that was the first time Flash Wolves had ever missed playoffs. So maybe, you know,
maybe a little bit of bad blood.
Exactly. Maybe they separated not on the best terms. Who knows? I'm not even actually speculating that. That is actually just a meme.
Absolutely.
But Elk coming out, Hail Blade, so wanting to match the level of aggression that's going to come in from the 2v2s. But I really like that you kind of had the spotlight on Cryin in draft, because I feel like a lot of the heavy lifting from Ultra Prime is going to have to come from mid-jungle. You do have mixed damage. You maybe can try to disrupt this Diana in the early game. And if you can set champions like Diana behind, like Lucian behind, that really feels like the avenue of where Ultra Prime can actually be able to find a win. Is ShiauC, you're Mr. Hook City, and it goes wide again.
He does get some lockdown onto Betty, and Betty has to burn Cleanse early on. Betty's in some serious trouble there. That's going to be a nice little cooldown. Ignite also used from both sides, and the exhaust from Elk. So just trading the exact same amount of summer spells back, but it means that a little bit of priority gain for Ultra Prime.
And especially when you think about the Lucian Nami bot lane, right? Again, not the strongest level 1. You need a few spells to come out Lucian to get that full combo off. Nami to be able to proc the electrocute before you really start hard winning some of these trades. So despite the fact that the hook did miss from ShiauC, still able to win, and they aren't giving up. ShiauC still keeping the pressure by standing in that brush, zoning them off the way. It's going to guarantee they are able to find the level 2 first.
Exactly, a little bit of advantage. But I want to go back to the general conversation that we were having in terms of like where we want to see the focus for these two teams. Coming into this one, Ultra Prime, the top side of the map was the focus for them. Anyone's Legend, the bottom side. But especially in this one, it feels like Ultra Prime are going to need to weather this early storm from Betty and Chocho once they hit that level 3 mark. And once we see Xiaohao finishing his pathing down to this bottom lane. But again, we see Hacker on a unique path himself that we saw come to success in game 1. But this time, he's spotted out by the ward.
And Hacker's going to be the difference maker, right? Because you're kind of hitting on having to survive the early game of AL's bot lane. The good thing for Ultra Prime is that, I mean, they have the stronger early jungle. They also have a Lissandra that pairs up with the Lee Sin incredibly well. So that's why they're the ones who are able to look for the aggression pre-6, because Xiaohao not really going to have the ability to influence. But nice read by him. Since they do spot out Hacker on the ward, he can just go for trading camps on the top side.
See a little bit of trading on the top side is we continue to highlight on that one, but I do want to see, and we do see Xiaohao taking a little bit of aggression here into the topside jungle, maybe looking to make a little pit stop for ZDZ, as we actually got to see a little bit of last game, and it was that adaptation I was talking about for anyone's Legend, where it's not just about the bottom lane. They were able to find advantages elsewhere.
Yeah, they were able to find some advantages elsewhere, but I think this game, right, we're expecting the slower pace. We're expecting the slower pace coming out kind of from both teams. For up, I would like to see a little bit more in terms of like hitting on mid like we've hit on, but for AL, I mean, you're going to need to hit the level 6 on the Diana.
Oh. He's just been spotted in every path he's taken in this game. It's kind of nutty.
It is kind of sad coming out from Hacker, but, you know, good vision control coming out from AL. The thing I'm curious to see as the game goes on is how AL start fights. Because it's really going to rely on things like, actually Forge, just being the one to, like, run forward, get his slow down, Xiaohao maybe having to flash in to guarantee the dash, and then, you know, hit the lockdown. It's going to require a lot of these, like, kind of small, minuscule windows, and a lot of, I don't want to say outplays, but like individual skill expression to come through to be able to guarantee the engages that they'd want to find.
Yeah, but I think that's where, if you're looking at anyone's legend, you value the comfort that you're getting on the Swain for Forge, right? And a little bit of the potential engage with the never move and the catch outs that could possibly happen. The big team fight that will be strengthened with Forge in there. And when you're looking at, you know, trying to pick apart fights and whatnot for anyone's legend, because they will need to find those catch outs. They will need to find a way to get Betty within distance, but not within death, because I think there's a lot of possibilities, as I was hinting at earlier, with the CC to lock down Betty and shut him out.
And we might see that right now, the CC able to come through, Hacker waiting in the wings.
Oh, ShiauC says hello again, my friend. He doesn't find him, but guess who does? It's Hacker for first blood. Ultra Prime, get a bit of deja vu.
Ultra Prime hiding in the brush. ShiauC finds the hook, and they find the advantage in bot lane that we wanted to see. Hacker being active on the map. It's what AL were hitting on in the pregame interview. One of the big win conditions, one of their big fears going up against Ultra Prime.
And it strikes first. Nicely done. The little lollipop is not one that Betty is going to be very happy to receive from ShiauC in that aspect, but it's a really good look, and we'll get a replay of just how close it was.
Yeah, just, I mean, kind of weaving in the middle of the minions, right? It seems like they don't expect him to be here. Chocha was channeling his recall. Ultra Prime's bot lane had been waiting in that brush for quite a while. As Flash comes out from Hacker, able to guarantee the Sonic Wave connects to be able to get the damage down. So overall, just nice play coming out from the bot lane and jungle of Ultra Prime.
ShiauC still has flash too, right? Everything, that was the double flash from anyone's Legends bot lane. And ShiauC, with the engage potential, still has flash available. Exhaust is back up now for Elk, so they have an ability to continue to put down this bot lane.
Yeah, they're going to be able to keep looking to all in on that, but I kind of want to move to the other side of the map because we saw ZDZ stack up a huge wave onto Zoom. Hit 6 first, was able to zone him off, which allows him to get the free reset and just walk back up the top lane. So ZDZ so far doing some work. Zoom didn't fall behind in terms of minions. Didn't look like ZDZ had any sort of freeze. Was just able to build up a big wave and get himself a bit of a window where he can come back to lane with an item advantage. But Zoom does still have teleport.
Am I ridiculous for thinking Betty's going to have some seriously fancy feet in this game to be able to stay alive? Because it is terrifying. I feel like, and I'm not nowhere near the skill level as Betty, obviously, but I feel like this Lucian is going to have to be on one here. And starts by getting some resources. He's going to go straight in. The exhaust is utilized. ShiauC gets the re-engage. Nice feather recall, the blade caller, to stop them in their tracks, Lyric. That is unfortunate.
Yeah, ShiauC able to get away. Just so unfortunate coming out from AL when Xiaohao able to find the gank. But Forge,
it's blue side dominance. Frozen 2 comes through. Oh, Hacker not able to connect. And Forge does use the demonic ascension, but he does survive as well.
Still, ultimately, Ultra Prime coming out ahead on the map. They don't lose anything in bottom lane, despite the fact that AL commit resources there. They send Hacker mid. They get a flash and an ult of their own. Just coming up nicely. But going back to your point about Betty having to have some fancy feet, I feel like it's going to come down a lot to who's starting up the fight, right? Because if AL are able to find their way onto Ultra Prime first, I mean, you're not even going to be thinking about Betty, right? You're going to have Swain in your face. Xiaohao's going to be on top of you. A tidal wave's going to be coming through. The hard thing will be about being able to guarantee that you have that first move onto objectives or onto engages to come through. I think you're going to need a pretty good vision control, especially control wards, to guarantee that Xiaohao can find some of those off angles to come at that Ultra Prime won't be expecting.
Now, we did have first objective taken by Ultra Prime. Rift Herald is now in the pocket of Hacker. We'll see where the resources are going to be distributed in that faction, in that factor itself. But now there's the Hex Flash over the wall. ShiauC gets the dash out of Betty, but not too much more. Dragon on the table, which we haven't seen anyone's Legend go for at all this time around, even with a little bit of that focus on bottom side.
The problem was the fact that their bot lane was losing out because
Yep.
of level 1, right? Because of level 1 coming out from xiaoC, where he was able to generate so much pressure with AL losing the trade, AL haven't been able to consistently keep up prio down there. So nice just by Elk and xiaoC being able to do well in the 2v2 to make sure that AL can't go towards that game plan. With them coming off resets now, they will finally be able to secure this one, but not as early as they did in game 1, to where they were able to put a lot of threat onto Ultra Prime with the threat of an early soul.
Yeah, I mean, we were at like 22 minutes for the Soul Dragon for anyone's legend last time around. ZDZ will spot out Hacker, transitioning to this top side, but there goes that objective. Hacker will reset. I'm sure looking to find positioning for this Rift Herald next. I mean, I would like to see, he's obviously heading down to this bottom side. I wouldn't mind seeing the resources given over, but we're seeing so much push from anyone's legend now with this Lucian Nami combo. Be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, I still feel like it has to go down to the body. xiaoC does it again!
The pointing clicks. Betty is out of there, though, with the flash and the cleanse, so he gets out. But, man, xiaoC's got a bit of mental gap right now on Betty.
This is what you want to see when you watch xiaoC, right? Because if you think back to 2020 E-Star, all you think about is xiaoC's Thresh. xiaoC's Blitzcrank hitting the hooks left and right. So glad in this game, too, he's finding them, and he just keeps generating pressure, walking to Fog of War, Hex Flash in. Is AL going to try and find a plane mid?
You find Cryin. He does get out with the ball, but it's the CC chain. He goes into the frozen tomb, but a tomb, it shall be, Lyric, as anyone's legend finally on the board.
With Xiaohao waiting in the wings, just AL able to find the pick. Their bot lane and moving over first as well. So nice response pick coming out from the side of AL. Hopefully it gets Xiaohao closer to his rocket belt, because when we hit on of like 4AL, where you don't have, right, a Nautilus, an Ornn, these like easier ways to find engages, you're going to need a lot of different ways to be able to get on the back line. So getting rocket belt will be incredibly crucial for Xiaohao. You do have things like the Nami ultimate, though, which could make it a little bit easier. But speaking of bot lane,
I got my wish,
Hacker,
I think. I think Hacker
going to drop Herald.
Yeah, he's going to use the resources bottom lane here to get Elk ahead. But Betty and Chocho are right here.
I mean, to be fair, Mazel, you do have a Lissandra mid and a Gnar top. So
hey, you got to give me the dubs, all right, Lyric? You got to give me the dubs every now and then, okay? It's the little things for a play-by-play that make me happy. It makes my brain go, yay!
It's not... no, that's actually not true about that's for anyone. The little things are what you appreciate in life. So I'm sorry, I actually just corrected you again and took away another.
Yes. You just keep correcting me. It's fine. That'll be our dynamic.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I didn't mean to.
But we do see Zoom actually pushing in ZDZ on the top side. The TP will be available. He actually stops his back to get this wave here. Not wanting to let it crash. Get those plates over to Zoom, who in fact might get a little bit of aggression back on himself as the Mega Gnar. That's coming up for him here, and we're looking back down to the bottom side of this map and looking at where Hacker is really getting involved next, because he has been the movement forward. But I think for me, it's the xiaoC factor. It's 9 days. He's on the same champion. He's on a different side, but the Nautilus looks like night and day comparatively to last game.
Just with the start that they've had in lane, it's been so much better. Going to be able to guarantee this turret in bot lane, and
Oh no, anyone's legend. They're going under the tower. The tidal wave not going to hit anybody. Blade Caller does bring it back and gets the root, but the tower will fall eventually. And if you stick around anyone's legend, 2 more people will be biting the dust here, so they back away.
Yeah, good call by AL to back off. I mean, they had the ward in the tri-brush, right? So knowing that Hacker's in the area. And for AL, all they can do is try and find something else on top side. Xiaohao's level 8. I wonder if he
play a little bit funnier. He's
I mean, Zoom is mini Gnar, but still, I would expect he'd have a fine time getting away. He has the hop, he has the flash. So for Xiaohao was just waiting to see if he can try and take away the Gromp rather than trying to aggress onto Zoom himself. And I mean, heck, it just seems like for Xiaohao, the only thing you can do now is just go back to your jungle, pick up your Raptors, maybe have a reset come out. And we're kind of seeing the difficulty in terms of how you can link up your jungle with your lanes in this draft to be able to get something done.
Oh, Betty! Tries to dash. Chocho stops his back to try to help out. The kick is there. He's blocking. Hacker! He's gonna get the kill anyways! And Hacker survives to at least take one down to the depths with him.
Nice bubble by Chocho to make sure that they do get the kill back in response. But Hacker still finds the critical kill onto Betty. Showing again why, Chinese fans calling him Ultraman the first 15 minutes. He is willing to make these proactive plays, and that is why you need to fear him. But ZDZ trying to scale up and be a bit of a monster for Ultra Prime to deal with later on. It feels like that is a win condition that they are having to lean on right now, is we just get to see, like you said, he was backing on the ward. Hacker trying to get here as fast as he can to guarantee this kill. Sonic Wave's going to connect. Not much Betty can do with how strong Hacker is at this time, and Betty not having any mana either. But right there, Bubble does connect. Some nice damage comes down to Hacker with another ward hop to guarantee that the kill comes through.
Oh, that feels so bad for Betty, though. I do want to take a check-in here, though, because we have both objectives on the map at the same time at this point. And the big golden option right now is the mid lane for Ultra Prime as they pounce on a Chocho. He flashes away. Betty dashes away from the Everfrost and Cryin. They'll get out calling onto Elk here. Just a trade of ultimates. But I was going to say the big focus for me is the Rift Herald. Dragon at this point doesn't mean anything, but this Rift Herald, it could be a key unlocking factor, and both teams know that.
And some key ults down, right? Cryin not having ult, I feel like is big, but Betty and Chocho, more importantly, do not have theirs up. Still, oh wow, it's going to be enough to dissuade Ultra Prime in terms of not having
what's going on?
Lissandra team there.
Wait, what is happening? Kelly, are you okay? Kelly, blink once for yes and 2 for no. Oh, okay, it was 1 blink. She's okay. She's okay. All right.
Even have words.
Our Rift Herald,
what was
our
it?
minions, our neutral minions have been on
what
one.
was it?
It was the Gromp in the mid lane.
It was the Gromp,
yes.
right? It was the Gromp, yeah.
They just, they're tired of being caged up. The animals need to be free on the Rift. This was their home. They want to take time to look at everything. And Hacker wants to take time to look at their first dragon for Ultra Prime.
I think it would be kind of interesting if the game was changed to where jungle camps actually did move around the jungle.
Oh God, please no, please not more RNG. I don't want more RNG.
I don't think we need that. I don't specifically want that, but I don't feel like it's out of the realm of possibility in terms of some things we've seen coming to the game.
I'll just stick to the elk that walks around, the ducks, the rabbits. Like that's fine. I don't need the blue buff to walk around.
Hey, we now have a champion that summons Void Remora just being around minions that die. You don't need to kill minions. They don't need to be enemy minions, just minions that die. So, anything can happen. 70% damage reduction?
Yeah, which is actually crazy to me. It's just so funny to me when you see a Bel'Veth at the end of a game and you're getting the triple minion wave spawning under the towers and you're just getting like thousands of reward. But anyways, Bel'Veth is not in this one. Hopefully we get her the rest of the night. At least I'm hoping so. But Xiaohao with this Rift Herald that they were able to sneak out of Ultra Prime's palm. Ultra Palm. We'll see where they actually utilize it, because at this point, the bottom lane a little bit forfeit, but I'm looking at this top or mid tower to really bust down for anyone's legend.
I think it'd be really nice if they can open mid just for like the wave clear that'll come from Elk. The benefit if they do open up a side lane with it is just the fact that you do have that Jax, we've hit on a few times, will be one of the things consistently generating pressure for anyone's legend in a mid game. So even if, like, let's say we get to a place where Up are able to get control of mid and they could force their way into river, AL should always have an avenue of going through whatever side lane the ZDZ is playing in.
Ultra Prime looking for an avenue of their own in the top side, but for me, what has shown out for Ultra Prime is they're just constantly moving together. That's been a huge theme we've seen in the second game that was a little bit all over the place in last game, but it has been constantly, if they want to make a play bot lane, they're constantly hovering. Not that they're going to execute the play, but they're ready and waiting.
And they're even just dropping waves to do it, right? They're kind of like, hey, like, bot's pushed in a little bit. We can give this one up. Let's try and find our own advantage in mid. Because, I mean, they want to find those 5v5s. I believe Cryin having his ult back up as well, giving them confidence to be able to take a fight win. But AL going to be able to get a decent amount off this, right? You take top turret outright, ZDZ able to force the wave in, and it just looks like we're coming to one of those circumstances of like a team that wants to make the map big in AL versus a team that wants to play smaller, more controlled in Ultra Prime. Kind of funny saying that about AL when they have Diana and Swain, like two champions that want to be right in the thick of battle. But maybe they find it here.
All right, we got the charge from anyone's Legends, Rift Herald into the mid lane. I got to do a little bit of a check-in because at the beginning of the day, I was talking a lot about the average analyst happiness here in the LPL. It's very important to our statistics and our numbers. I want to ask you, Lyric, how's your average analyst happiness going here? Are you happy Ox or are you sad Lyric?
I don't know if I could be happy because I like both of these teams and I want both of them to win, always.
But I feel like in terms of looking at what we were setting out in the first place for them, what they were looking to have their win conditions be around, I feel like we've gotten a lot of the right check marks for both these two teams, maybe just not in the right fashion.
I feel like we've at least seen what we expected to see from both of them, especially in game 1. This game 2, feeling a little bit more toned down, like Ultra Prime not putting a lot of pressure up towards that top side. AL not able to find the advantages in bot, right? So kind of a flipped script. Not for lack of trying, though. Like, obviously, we saw Xiaohao go bot very early on. Hacker's been everywhere on the map, but not able to hit the same early game strides because, I mean, nice reads coming from both teams, right? I mean, able to escape ganks, like when we saw ShiauC able to survive in bot lane. Forge, like, sure, he did have to blow his flash, but not giving an advantage over to Hacker when he came to the mid lane.
Well, I will say, and speaking of that mid lane a little bit more, it's a bit of a different tale than the first game we saw, where both of them were actually, I guess, Forge a little bit less so, but both were getting some resources in the mid lane. It's been a little bit more quiet, a lot more propensity to move in this one, but still a lot less coming in terms of resources. And it's really been just about keeping control for the most part.
And especially when we talk about control, I think one nice thing, like coming into the map state now, especially with AL having side lane control, is even if they don't play out through sides, they can at least constantly rotate ZDZ over, come off at an angle, find the counter-strike, and that potentially sets up the fight that you want. We see both Forge and Xiaohao now have stopwatches, so I think that's like a really key timer where they feel comfortable in taking a fight because they're not as afraid being the champions who have to be the ones to look for the all-ins themselves.
Cryin will be opting into the side lane play. They do take the tower, but anyone's legend putting even more bodies around mid lane. Never move, connects onto ShiauC, and damage will follow afterwards. Culling comes through as well. Decent amount of cooldowns used. Hacker connects on Chocho, but will not follow that one up. Back coming through from Cryin. He has the Unleashed teleport, and Dragon is on the table.
It's kind of funny, too, because we're just seeing both teams trade windows. I'll pause on that, though, because Zoom, with the fact that he has Mega Gnar almost here, Ultra Prime feeling really confident about the fight. Yeah, and Cryin and ShiauC still not even close. Like, Cryin might have TP, but ShiauC wouldn't be able to join in, so Ultra Prime are just going to elect to give this straight up. We'll put AL on 2. And now for Ultra Prime, it feels like trying to get some vision control back in bot. You're going to have to send someone to answer that top wave. And, yeah, it feels like we're just going to go back to where we were a second ago in terms of... Oh, wait!
Hacker, a little bit hypey there, but, you know, it is what it is. Forge has to pop the demonic attention, Mega Gnar, and Forge has to go golden now. He'll heal up a decent amount while he's in there. The Never Move brings Hacker back in. The Vision of Empire helps as well. Xiaohao wants to follow this up as Forge flashing over the wall. The nice blast cone, though, will get Ultra Prime out of dodge, but it's 4v3. Anyone's legend have overextended themselves, but they've evened up now. Betty, not a lot of health, gets instantly deleted by Cryin, and Ultra Prime have turned it on. The engine is revving up here in game number 2. ZDZ is on his own. He's all by himself. He gets one back on a ShiauC, but he gets Everfrost locked down, and Zoom gets the kill.
And now Ultra Prime going to start building up this gold lead. Looks like they're going to try and take bot turret. Forge going to have to TP in, so not going to be able to find anything. But great fight coming out from Ultra Prime. It started off in a bit of a weird way in terms of, like you said, Hacker being hypey. We saw missed ultimates back and forth. But Ultra Prime finding a foothold in this game. And nice, we get to go straight into the replay because Hacker, knowing they have more members on bot side, looks for the steal. Kicks the Lissandra away. Xiaohao not able to connect with the lockdown, especially because the Wardhop able to come through from Hacker. But Forge, my god, by so much time with his ultimate, the damage from the pop is huge as well. But it feels like the important thing is the fact that, like, so many members are already low. I believe Lucian had already gotten chunked out low in the mid lane. Forge now not having the ultimate available.
He just gets
and now Elk and Cryin still at 100% from the push that they got in mid. They turn on him, he gets popped. Sure, ZDZ's able to find a kill onto Zoom. Or was it on ShiauC because he's mini? Okay, onto ShiauC because he's able to find the counter-strike. Sorry, there's so much going on right now, Mazel. And, yeah, point is, I feel like the key thing in that fight was the control of mid lane that Ultra Prime had, the fact that they were able to chunk Betty out low, and then you're bringing in Lissandra and Xayah at full HP.
Yeah.
And again, kind of your key CC and engage, and then your key damage dealer were untouched and able to just find the burst. But my god, please don't give us more of that. Let's have those straight front to back. Easy to see everything going on. There's no solo kills going off behind the fight, and you know
I'm here
happy,
for it.
uncomplicated
All right, I'm here for the complications because that is seemingly how Ultra Prime are going to take out this win here. Because the way they were able to navigate that fight is so interesting, but also the utilization of all that CC that we've highlighted so much here, and the fact that anyone's legends key priority in the fact that we wanted to see Betty carry. He's 0-3. He just completed Collector. He is so far behind right now on Elk that it just feels like AL need to find something else that's going to work.
And I mean, right, they have other damage dealers, right? I mean, you especially have a carry in jungle, you have a carry in top lane, you have these key things that really can influence fights. Ultra Prime aren't like incredibly far ahead to the point of to where I feel like AL need to be like ridiculously scared. But now we're starting to see things like, I mean, the fact that Ultra Prime were able to chunk out Betty in the mid lane, I feel like comes down to the fact that Elk having this range with this Q available, like you said, now sitting a whole item up over Betty is going to make it a lot harder for him to be able to find the damage coming through. And like you said, Collector being built, we now have like the armor stacking coming through, Zoom having the Randuin's Omen, Zanya's being built for Cryin, and I feel like they're going to make it very hard for Betty to be able to find any semblance of impact on this game.
The hacker is just searching right now, trying to hack into the mainframe of anyone's Legend and find a pick where he can. Ultra Prime will be positioning up towards this top side of the map, though, into the red buff of anyone's Legend. You got to still think about the catch-outs that anyone's Legend can have, the team fight potential with Forge. We've seen a lot of possibilities there, as well as the item completions coming across for anyone's Legend.
Yeah.
At least
I like, and you know, you're saying item completions, and you just hit on like, hey, AL might have to look for another avenue to be able to take wins in this game. We do see that ZDZ built Hullbreaker, and Hullbreaker was obviously an item that was, I mean, we could say nerfed, but like changed, right?
Yeah.
To where they like hit it early and buffed it late, trying to like push it to not be an item you just first buy and are incredibly strong in lane. Yeah, and they're like, hey, like we still want this to be a split push item that is strong, but it should not be you build it in laning phase and you just win out lane like the resistances, all the shenanigans with minions, just no. So ZDZ maybe going to opt into more of contributing to sides, but AL, with the fact you have Diana and Swain, it feels really hard to not like commit to 5v5s with your comp. Feels almost impossible.
I just think it's so funny how we went in game one where it was like skirmishing all over. Yes, we had big skirmishing around the objectives, but in this game, it's literally objective fights or nothing. And Forge is going straight in. He will go gold and he's buying so much time. This is a nice fight for anyone's Legend. But they can't get picked off. Chocho is down. Big moonfall, but it's not enough. Betty is on the side. Betty finds Elk and anyone's Legend. This was the fight that they were looking for. And somehow they turn it all around. A double kill for Betty. Never Move does not connect onto Cryin, but the Vision of Empire will spot him out, and that is Dragon. It started up for anyone's Legend. What a turnaround.
And I don't even know how someone like Elk gets picked off when the whole enemy team is right in front of you. But they'll find the angle. Xiaohao, like you said, the moonfall, able to connect. It doesn't matter that Chocho went down extremely quickly. Ale having the damage there, and now going to be on soul point once again. Everything's going wrong for Ultra Prime again, Mazel.
They need Ultraman. They need him to zip up the suit and get on going. Something at this point, because this fight is so whole-handedly a fight that anyone's Legend wants to take.
I mean, like, the fact that Forge finds the CC and forces the ult out from Elk so early, which allows for Xiaohao to go in, you connect some damage, Betty can just jump over the wall, was waiting for his right time. Like, to me, that's what won the fight, right? Connecting straight onto Elk and then having other members with the ability to follow up, but also not being too quick to pull the trigger, right? Because there's a world where Betty dashes in a bit too soon, he gets popped, you now don't have the damage to kill out.
Exactly.
So, nice team fight coming out from AL.
For me, it's also the fact that silently, Forge was the start of that fight, but he was constantly hitting like 4 or 5 members.
He was draining everyone the whole time.
In the middle, the Mega Gnar pushed him into perfect position. It was such an underlying factor of that fight that's how anyone's Legend approaches winning fights in the future here in this game.
Yeah, and I think it's a good thing that a good thing for AL that are trying to scrap, are trying to go toe-to-toe as both top laners
wins
also.
This one anymore.
Yeah, I mean, definitely should not, especially as his Mega Gnar getting closer to timeout. So for AL, not only winning in that last fight, but
Cryin. We needed him to be the mainstay, needed to be a pillar for Ultra Prime. He almost gets caught out there. Has the flash, does have to burn it there. Betty trying to get the aggression.
Okay, but Betty now also has no flash. Like, you do have a lot of mobility, right? You have your E, you have the Gale Force, but still, that might come to bite you later on. But at least for AL, they do have other damage dealers, like we saw in the fight that they just won. So both teams now pretty much even. 8 to 8 in kills. Really, the one benefit being AL having this massive dragon lead. But still, now that we've seen that AL can come out ahead in fights and are still winning with ZDZ in the side lane, I feel like AL in a very comfortable position. But still, let's remember that Ultra Prime also did give that engage a little bit easy in terms of Elk getting pulled.
No,
oh, no.
Hacker doesn't get the red buff, and he gets picked. Tidal Wave coming through. It's about to be the TP, the Forge engage here. Elk gets caught out. He takes down Betty, though. That's a big pick out, but Elk has to get out of here now. He has the Blade Caller coming up soon. He had to use the Feather Storm Forge. Able to get the Never Move on Cryin. TP in the mid lane from Zoom. We'll try to put up a defense here, but it's a great pick onto Betty.
Elk coming in clutch to save a play that Hacker, I mean, just a little bit confusing, opting into the red buff steal, and
wait,
oh no.
What? You don't have
We're gonna get a fight. We're getting a fight, Mazel.
Elk is backing right now with no health, and now Zoom is trying to get away. Elk is just gonna finish his back while the rest of his team is getting picked apart here. Everfrost is huge, but they have to flash, they have to burn everything, and anyone's legend are flexing their muscles here.
Nice call coming out from AL. I mean, they knew how low Elk was, right? They knew that a bunch of summoners were burned. So you knew that they weren't trying to actually take the Baron. It was about forcing Ultra Prime to come in, forcing Ultra Prime to have to try to posture, have to try to stop them so they're able to find the turn. But we're going to go all the way back to Hacker. I mean, they spot the members of AL here. Xiaohao and Betty, they find the damage to connect. Again, I think extremely fortunate that Elk is able to find this kill onto Betty because Ultra Prime, we're just giving advantages left and right. He's able to lock him down. Cleanse not coming out in time, and even if it did, it felt like the damage was there for Elk with the lead he was able to generate. Nice lockdown from Cryin to make sure ZDZ can't get onto his AD carry, but still, with the damage that was done, that's why they were able to force that Baron.
And I want to just take a second here while we're looking at Anyone's Legend pushing into siege here in mid lane against Ultra Prime. Anyone's Legend themselves, we've talked about them sparingly throughout the season, but it's been an interesting path at this point. But at this point, it feels like they were a bit of a dark horse, a foal. But at this point, they're fully grown into that dark horse. Like, I can see when they get their win conditions, when they're able to find, like, of course, the resources towards Betty, it's huge. And we've seen that turn around in this game specifically.
Yeah, AL, I mean, we hit on it earlier, right? They seem like a team that could beat pretty much anyone coming into the league. I do gotta say, I was disappointed with the amount of tension that Ultra Prime were building in that play, hugging that wall, looking for the pick. That not able to find it, Counter-Strike just gets popped by ZDZ, and it's like, yo, I'm out, boys. As we once again get back to just posturing in the mid lane. To be fair for AL, right, they do have their sides pushed in as Elk.
That
to be forced to Gale Force out.
At least just a little cooldown. Not the giant cooldown, but Anyone's Legend. Never move on to two members. It does have a nice little engage possibility here. Dragon is up. This is Infernal Soul for Anyone's Legend.
Now, we have to see what Zoom can get done. Again, the Mega Gnar bar is stacked up. You've already forced the Gale Force out from Elk, though, coming from AL. Oh, they just get it.
Yep.
They just get
That's it. Tidal Wave to separate the fight. Forge is fine being the engage. He's fine if you engage on him. And Xiaohao is fine with a moonfall from the heavens. As you get Betty on the side, Betty takes him down. And it's a 5v3 right now. Ultra Prime are headed for the hills, and Anyone's Legend are headed for the Baron.
AL gonna look for it. Ultra Prime.
Oh,
Betty! Oh no!
Oh,
Betty!
He's insane! He's insane! That man is insane in the membrane.
That was Mojo, Mazel. That was pure Mojo. I know Munchables is watching because he's casting next, and my God, Betty. Betty does not care. Now, I mean, heck, still not caring. On like 15% HP, they're going to force this Baron because of the numbers advantage that they have. It is all up to Hacker.
This is it. This is where you can turn it completely around. He doesn't have any way to get into pit, though. And so it's just Baron, it's Soul, it's everything for Anyone's Legend.
Once again, we've seen it every single time from Ultra Prime, right? Ultra Prime, like, have consistently kept it close against pretty much everyone, right? There's been a game here or there where they've gotten blown out, but always able to bring the fight. But it's always these small things, always these small circumstances where the enemy team able to come out ahead. AL should be primed to take this game at this point, right? Like you said, they have everything. They have Soul, they have Baron, they could look to push, they could look to play out through two lanes, considering you have ZDZ, who definitely is going to be spanking Zoom right now. Collapse in the mid lane. It's going to be tough for Ultra Prime.
For me, that's what the crazy part is. They're literally getting their cake and eating it too, because nobody can beat ZDC at the side lane at this point. But they can also take the team fight because Forge is fine taking the dredge lines that ShiauC is serving up to him on a silver platter. And the engage doesn't work every time for Ultra Prime. Elk keeps getting caught out the side of these fights, and it is just being able to be picked apart by anyone's legend. I think it's beautiful.
Especially when we look at itemization, right? Because, like, sure, like, Cryin does damage, right? I mean, has a Rabadon's Death Cap, has the Electrocute, but AL knows they really only need to itemize 4L coming through. So Forge already having the Randuins, has the Zanyas as well, just a ton of armor under his belt. He can absorb so long in these fights, and Betty once again
it's the aggression.
Goes to the play.
It's absolutely crazy. The Gale Force calling combos that have been coming out from Betty. It doesn't get much every time, but it's keeping the mental advantage over Elk.
Always forced to have to use that to get away. Again, luckily for Elk, he does have other tools to be able to get by, but it feels like even though AL, again, you have like Tidal Wave, you have Forge running forward, they're still always able to force.
Oh my goodness.
What was that?
That's unfair.
Oh, wait, that's Infernal Soul.
That's
3 Infernal Drakes and an Infernal Soul.
Helps as well to have some teammates there. They take down 2 quick inhib towers, and again, Zoom can't do anything against CDZ. Gets Mega Gnar, but the inhib is going down slowly but surely. ShiauC actually tries for the engage, and now he's just caught out. Never move, and that signals the end. That's a big Mega Gnar from Zoom, but Forge is still ascended here, and they've got Baron minions on the last 2 towers. That's a flash for Cryin as well.
They're just going to be able to keep putting out the damage. And that feels like the differentiator at this point, right? Like, sure, Ultra Prime, we keep seeing one member like step too far forward and it sets up the engage, but now just look at how much they're chunking, even just basic skills coming out to get them low. And now AL gonna look for the end.
That's it. Zoom is trying to run away, but the last tower falls. ShiauC will not get the redemption against his former friend in Betty, and anyone's legend will continue to build up and continue as they break the streak of win-loss, a 2-0 victory over Ultra Prime.
It's so nice to see smiles on players like Forge and Chocho's faces. We've hit on Forge, right, of how rough his journey has been, maybe being thrown into the LPL a bit too soon and how much he struggled. But even Chocho, because Chocho has been around for so long, a player, I mean, heck, a player who's played 2 roles, right?
Yeah.
We go all the way back to his stint, oh my God, why am I blanking what top esports was? Oh, Dan Gaming. Go all the way back to like Dan Gaming back in the day, swapping over to support. Rough journey. He was a sub on TES. Like, we're thinking back to like 2019. I believe him and Molyu got like 1 or 2 games in the split to come in, but not that much. And now really cementing himself as this aggressive player on AL.
Yeah.
But all of AL being these aggressive players. Betty this game, like early game, they lost in the 2v2, right? They struggled in that 2v2. Come into mid game, they don't care. He's on 10% HP. He's still Gale forcing in. He's still Eing in and knowing he needs to be the one to get the damage done. On the opposite side for Elk, Elk was having a pretty solid game. Then once we got to those mid-late game fights, I mean, things like the never move, catching him off guard, forcing the ult out, really felt like the defining moments of the game for Up.
And we laid out at the very beginning of this how different both these 2 teams' approaches are to finding success on the Rift, right? We were saying, lead before 15 minutes ends up in a win for these teams. But in all actuality, I think we saw a lot more from anyone's legend tonight than we did Ultra Prime. A lot more flexibility in terms of play styles, a lot more ability to flex within the game, especially that second one. Game 1, a little bit more snowball, a little bit easier to pilot. But to see them have to go through the decision-making process of how, obviously, our early win condition did not get ahead. How do we process this? How do we make it to the mid-game, to those big team fights that work out for us in those favors? And Betty himself, after having that really rough early performance in the second game, pulls it back in wonderful abandon.
And it amazes me how AL always managed to find the fight, right? You're kind of always looking at it and you're like, okay, like you can see the angles, you can see the flash, the rocket bell getting the Diana in here or there, but it's always like small things of, again, Swain hitting a never move, or one time when ZDZ came in on a flank with a counter strike when Cryin was like literally probably 1 pixel too far forward to allow that to come in. That one didn't result in the kill, but still, like, those are the moments where it's like, my God, AL always seem to find a way. And similar but different Goldgraph to game 1. Obviously, Ultra Prime had the lead for much longer. In game 1, it was maybe for 5 to 10 minutes, but AL falling a bit behind early. They find the fights they need, and they always manage to bring it back. It feels like you cannot allow Forge to have this Swain pick anymore. Like, my God, it's his most played champion. He's played 8 games on it, and it's sitting at like a 90% win rate.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. And the way he piloted it was so just confidence-filled, I feel like, in terms of what he was doing. Obviously, saw the damage numbers were pretty huge. But I want to quickly go back to the highlight of Ultra Prime before we continue to wrap things up for anyone's legend. And we did get to see a lot of the strengths from them. And I do want to highlight Hacker was a big focus for anyone's legend, at least from what we heard, right? In terms of the early pathing, the early advantage that Hacker can find. He did find first blood in both games, in those unique pathing moments, right? First in top side for the first game, second to the bottom side. And it shows that, they can get an early advantage, but it's about piloting that and using the composition, because it felt like Elk was a little bit different on the Xayah. It just felt like the pieces. ShiauC was looking incredible on the Nautilus, but it was when it all kind of came together, it didn't seem to pan out for them.
I mean, it didn't really feel like it ever did actually fully come together, right?
Yeah.
Because we never got to see a fight where it was like 2 teams coming in and actually like going head-to-head. Like, look at Zoom's kill participation. 20%. We never got in with like a huge Gnar ultimate, slamming members into the wall, Hacker trying to find his way around